Wasteland 3 evolves the typical turn-based combat you've come to expect. Now all allies take their turn at once, then all the enemies, and so on. This leads to the combat being much more fast-paced and more enjoyable in my opinion. So today I'm going to teach you everything that I've learned about the combat system. First things first, not every combat encounter can be predicted or even prepared for really, so after every fight you should make sure you heal, check your ammo levels, make sure everything is good to go because you never know when the next fight is going to be. If you're entering a new area, the NPCs in the area will already show with red health bars if there is going to be no conversation before the guns start doing the talking. In these encounters you should set up your party individually, set up your snipers in the back, put your melee as close to the combat as you can, mid-range fighters like assault rifle users in the middle sections. Try to get everyone behind cover and then crouch. This helps with stealth for one, and it also means that you don't have to move to cover once the combat does actually break out. To start the fight, you want to shoot someone with your highest damage ranger. This is typically your sniper, and it's a good idea to use your sniper as they can get a safe shot off from a safe distance. It's for this reason as well that my sniper is also a sneaky S for the stealth damage bonus that comes with that, so I can set up everyone in the fight and then have my sniper initiate combat. When they do initiate combat, they'll have less AP, but everyone else will have full action points to spend because you've already set everyone up and you can just get straight into shooting. Once the fight breaks out, the first things you should do is find any explosive turrets or machines that are on the battlefield and deal with them first. Blow up the tanks by shooting them, take out any generators for turrets if possible, and if you have someone with nerd stuff, hack machines. This can be really beneficial to buy yourself some time and turn the machines against the enemies. I have a melee character with nerd stuff because they'll be moving around the battlefield a lot, so they can move up to machines, hack them, and then keep moving around. Now, when you're taking actions in combat, it is dependent on what ranger you're using and what you're facing, but here are some general tips for any combat encounter. Animal companions are super clutch. I think I've mentioned this in like all of my Wasteland videos, but they are so good. It is such a good idea to have people with Animal Whisperer and use the animal companions. Having a mechanic is also beneficial for this, being able to throw turrets and spikes and other items onto the battlefield to help out in combat. Anything that is going to make the enemies attack something else other than your rangers is always a positive, and the turrets and spikes and everything will actually fight back. You know, the spikes will set off some kind of AoE effect and the turrets will actually shoot the enemies. As a quick side note, you can switch your quick slot items during combat without it consuming an action. So for example, if you want to throw down 2 different types of turrets as a mechanic and maybe use a different healing item as a medic, you can access your inventory and switch out your quick slot items without consuming an action point. If you want to switch weapons in combat, same thing, you can open your inventory and switch weapons. This won't consume an action point. However, with a weapon, you will have to reload before you can shoot that gun. Throwables as well are a great tool in combat, and it's often one of the best ways to do AoE damage to enemies. You should use throwables like grenades, molotovs, that kind of thing as early in the fight as possible, because a lot of encounters will start with the enemies grouped together. Maybe they were chatting about what they had for breakfast, who knows, so they'll often be grouped together, so it's a good idea to hit them as soon as possible with these big AoE attacks. Maximize the amount of bad dudes that you can hit. Use the strike ability as often as it's up. It doesn't use additional action points, however, it will deal additional effects to the enemies. It's always tempting to aim for the head, but unless you're going to guarantee yourself a kill, it's often a good idea to aim for the limbs for the additional effects that you can get from them. Say if it's a melee enemy and they're a fair distance away and you can use strike, it's a good idea to hit their legs to cripple them so it takes them longer to get to you rather than just headshotting for some additional damage. Another note for combat is that your characters can't actually die. They will go down in combat and you have a countdown that you have to get to them to revive them to bring them back for that combat encounter. If you don't get there in time, you won't actually lose the character. They will come back after the fight, but you'll have to go to a doctor to heal them before you can use them in combat again. So you can feel free to kamikaze your characters around and kamikaze them into traps. If you can't disarm the trap, you just can revive them and continue on their way. If you do have a healer, you can remove the injury yourself, but in combat, it's a good idea to bring people up if possible. If a team member goes down, your leader should be the one to actually get them up. This will trigger a AoE heal for all of the nearby allies that you have. Your leader should also be killing as many enemies as possible and finishing them off, because if you get multi-kills, there are bonuses for that as well as killing bosses. Also, the rally perk is really clutch to use at the start of an encounter. I've found it's a really good idea to use it, especially if I didn't have time to set up my rangers, as it gives me an extra 2 AP per ranger so that I can move into cover or move into a good position position without consuming AP that I could use to actually fight back. You should also use your final actions to consume your last couple of action points. This kind of goes without saying, but I've actually found that preparing is often better than defending unless I'm using a melee character or my ranger is out in the open. Preparing while behind cover and saving that action point for the next round is usually better from what I've found. Cover gives you a lot of protection as it is, but if you're on the higher difficulties, it's probably a better idea just to use defense for the extra evasion. Outside of combat, there are a couple of things that you can do to increase your effectiveness. The first one is mod your gear as often as possible, both your weapons and your armor. In the early stages of the game, I was really afraid to use the mods that I'd found on my weapons and armor as I wasn't sure if I was going to keep that gear for a long time, but what I've found is that you actually gain mods relatively quickly as you explore and open things, especially if you have the lockpicking perks and nerd stuff and the ability to get into places that maybe you shouldn't be in. That will really help you get a lot of mods, so it's a good idea to just spam them on your gear, and you won't really be changing the gear as much as you think you might be, so it's a good idea to use them. You can usually tell the quality of the mod that you've found by the stat cost. For example, if you've got a mod that requires 7 weapon modding, it's going to be a higher quality than, say, a mod that requires 2 weapon modding, if that makes sense. So if you're not sure, just use all the cheap ones and away you go, and save the more expensive ones for some better gear that you may find down the road. One of the best places in the early stages to gear up and get some better equipment is the bazaar location. You can go here pretty early on and buy all sorts of equipment, weapons, armor, mods, all the healing items you could need. This place is fully equipped for a shopping spree, and the most important thing that you should be buying at any location is ammunition. It's a really good habit to get into, that every time you go to a vendor that sells ammo, to check how much ammo you have left in storage. You don't want to have no ammo when you get to a fight. It's a really good habit to get in to have a bare minimum of 50 bullets of an ammo type that you're using. Ammo is pretty cheap, so it's easy enough to buy in bulk, and you should be buying as much as you can as often as possible. There is no point in having the best rifle in Colorado if you've got no bullets to shoot from it. Having your rangers and companions use different types of ammo is also a good idea, so you're not chewing through one specific ammo type too quickly. And then in this case, if you do run out of ammo, it's only one ranger that is out of ammo rather than half of your team. And the last point is about your ranger team themselves. One of the best parts about this game is that you can make your own rangers, and combat and the game feel really different depending on the choices that you make. I have a video going through my starter rangers. I'll have a link to that up here. But outside of that, it is really up to you how you want to build out your characters. But regardless of how you do build them out, as a baseline, what I would suggest is that you have a healer so that you can throw healing items and remove injuries on the fly, a sniper, as snipers are some of the best damage dealers in the game. They also don't consume a lot of ammo as they don't shoot a lot of bullets. Melee characters are also very powerful, but I wouldn't say that these are like a must-have. They deal a ton of damage, but it can be easy to get them lost too far in the deep end and not have a healer in range to bring them back up. And that is it for combat, guys. Let me know in the comments below what your combat tips are, if I've missed anything, and also what ranges you're running. I'd be really interested to know what your party composition is, as there is so much that you can do in this game when it comes to your party themselves. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and on Twitch, where I stream 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, Australian night times. Hope to see you there. We're doing a lot of Wasteland content this week, so if you've got any questions about the game that I haven't answered here, please stop by. I'd be happy to answer them. Thanks for watching. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.